All right, welcome back everybody. So here it is, Thursday, June 6th, right at 1 p.m. and it is hot. It is 86 degrees, 66%, and it feels like 94. So hey, I'm out here to show y'all something a little different. So as the thumbnail and the title of the video indicates, I got a little serious about bulk feeding this year, or I decided to. I haven't done that yet, but I'm about to here real soon, actually this weekend. So given the amount of hives we currently have, I figured it'd probably be a good idea to start doing some research to figure out how I can feed all the hives in the easiest manner possible, because mixing 5 gallons of 1-to-1 sugar water, 1 or 2 5-gallon buckets at a time, and hauling that out to the bee yard just didn't really seem logical. So I got online, YouTube of course, did some research to see how other people mix bulk sugar water. Came across a video from Bob Binney. He was showing one of the guys that he knows, and then Ashby over at Ashby Farms in Burlington, and they both had 55-gallon drums using a trolling motor. So initially I thought that's a pretty good idea, different but good. So I started looking into that, and then a family member mentioned using a sump pump. So let me show y'all what I decided to do, and I'll explain why and give you the numbers and all that stuff. So managed to find a gentleman that sells barrels on the side here locally. Picked up this 55-gallon food grade barrel, and then did some research of course and got myself a sump pump. As you can see, with the appropriate PVC piping, which is all 1.5 inch, ball valve, and just a regular spigot, whatever it's called, and a 100-foot 3/4 inch hose that leads to a 1-inch nozzle. This is the setup, and I'll show you it in action here in a second. Let's talk some numbers, and I can explain why I went this route for a few reasons, not just about the money, but we'll talk about that. So plan number one, again, was to use a trolling motor. So the barrel, that's the same, obviously, right? The barrel cost me $22. The trolling motor was about $150 on Amazon. And then I decided I didn't want to mess with a 12-volt battery, so I wanted to get an inverter so I can run an extension cord out. Oh yeah, I'll show you where I'm gonna put this out close to the bee yard too. So I wanted to get an inverter. That would have been another 50 bucks. The pump I was gonna get was 60 on Amazon. The hose being the same was 69, the nozzle 30, the 3/4 to 1 inch adapter for the hose to the nozzle was about 11, and then the PVC pipe and cement from Lowe's was 65. So the trolling motor plan would have cost me $457 is what the actual breakdown is, and that didn't really seem very reasonable to me. So once I switched gears over to the sump pump being the main difference, that pump right there, 60 bucks on Amazon, 1/2 horsepower, and it can feed up to like 3/4 inch particles, I think is what it said. So long story short, with most of the same things minus the sump pump, right, and minus a few other things like the inverter and the other pump, this setup that you're looking at right here, all in $257. So I wanted to be right around 250. I was able to achieve that, and let me show you how this thing works. I just have to go connect the cord, and we'll do that right now if I can with one hand. So let's connect the cord. The pump automatically kicks on. That seems like a pretty good gallons per minute rate to mix sugar water. And then let's make sure this is closed, right? You simply just rotate the ball valve a little bit to get some pressure. That was not leaking the other day, so that's interesting. Okay, so circulation dialed back a little, pressurize the hose, as we can tell from some new leak. and then just come over here. And I haven't measured the flow rate, meaning how long it takes to fill up 1 gallon, but I'd say that's a pretty good flow rate. All right, let me show you where I'm gonna put this thing, and then we'll get it in action here in a little bit. Today's Thursday again, but I plan on mixing some sugar water this weekend and feeding the bees. All right, as y'all seen from many previous videos, this is the path from the backyard out to the bee yard. And if you haven't guessed, plan on placing the barrel right there. So I went with a 100-foot hose because that's what I needed. 3/4 inch just to have a pretty nice flow rate. And going from 1.5 inch piping to 3.5 or 3.75 inch hose gives me the right pressure. But yeah, no kidding. All the way out here to the bee yard, to both sides, I need about 75 feet. So the 100-foot hose should be more than adequate. But yeah, the next thing I'm gonna do really is just move the barrel out here to get it in place. I made a cover for it as well. It's gonna use plexiglass, but it's like $20 for the size sheet that I needed. I ended up going with a 1/4 inch, 2 foot by 2 foot, trimmed it down with a jigsaw, sanded it, painted it with a nice exterior outdoor paint, so it should last for years. But yeah, all I'm gonna do now is really just move the barrel, get that in place, grab the cover, put it on top just to keep debris out, and drag the hose out here, get that all set up and staged. And then all I have to do now is just purchase some sugar this weekend from Lowe's or Sam's. And the next part of the video, I'll show y'all how it works in action, feeding the colonies. I ended up buying 2.5 gallon feeders this year, mainly because I wanted to really, again, get serious about bulk feeding, but I wanted to provide the hives with enough feed that, one, I didn't have to resupply them too often, and two, they could use all that feed, because I'm really trying to draw out a lot of foundation going into the winter, and I'm trying to get the hives nice and heavy. But yeah, that's it for now. Stay tuned, and we'll see this thing in action here in the next few days. All right, let me show you the final setup. So here we have the mixing barrel, and we got the hose that runs right down the path here. We got 2 deeps ready for the swarms that are currently in traps, and the rest of the hose, maybe 25 foot or so, right here at the ready. Simply hang the nozzle, boom, right out to the hives. I am looking forward to not only using the mixing barrel, but seeing just how well this will work in an effort to make feeding that much easier. All right, here we are for the next part of the video, which is simply going to be me getting into the hives. And for the most part, that means the bottom box, removing 2 frames, putting the 2.5 gallon feeder into the bottom box. And for now, I'm just gonna set those 2 frames aside. Any of the hives, actually most of the hives that have mediums and queen excluders, which is I think all of them really, maybe -1, I'm gonna remove that queen excluder since I am done pulling honey. And in fact, later tonight is round 2 for the oxalic acid treatments. So hey, it's a few hours later than the previous part of the video. It's about 4 o'clock. Feels like it's 92 degrees and feels like 102. So with that said, I'm gonna be moving pretty quickly, since all I have to do is those 2 things really. Get the feeders in and remove the queen excluders, and I'm out of here. But kind of a tradition, let's give you a quick drive-by of the hives. As you can see and possibly hear, a lot of very nice activity out here. But that's it for me today, so let's get to it. All right, not much to really show, so it's gonna be very repetitive throughout the time out here. The spacing is a little off since the feeder didn't slide completely down in there. All right, there we go. So as advertised, takes up 2 frame spaces, so the bottom box essentially becomes an 8 frame. But yeah, I'm just gonna do this for all the colonies in preparation for tomorrow, which is when I want to start feeding them. So this is one of the few single deeps. I think I have 3 or 4. This was a later season swarm, maybe in early May or late May. But yeah, nonetheless, there we go. 2.5 gallon feeder. Should give them plenty of feed to draw out any foundation or any wax they need to. And then again, for the single deeps, I plan on adding a medium box in the very near future. All right, down here at 17, pulled the second frame just to make space for the feeder, and found a queen, an unmarked queen, in fact. And let me show you this next frame. Hopefully this comes up. So all the queens were marked at some point, but here we are with an unmarked queen, so let me do that today. But yeah, hopefully this comes up on camera. She is doing a phenomenal job. Y'all can see all those eggs. I mean, just doing an excellent job. So I'm looking for another frame to pull. Obviously not that one. In fact, I'm gonna pull that frame and move it to the hive next door that appears to be queenless and see if they raise some queen cells in the next week or so. But yeah, let me do a few things. Get her marked, get her released, find a frame to pull, add the feeder, which is what I've been doing this whole time. I just happened to find her on the second frame, so caged her and definitely need to get her marked. All right, so I decided to actually move 2 frames from 17 to 12. This frame has a lot of very young larvae and eggs, and so does the other one, more eggs than anything. And I put them into the second and third spot. I'm just gonna mark them with some green dots to remind me that I did something here. Okay, so let me get them boxed up, get back to 17, figure out, yeah, I have 2 frames. So they have space now for the feeder. Got the queen marked, success. All right, I'm sure she's ready. Come on out. Other way. This happens more often than it doesn't. Just get turned around for some reason. Come on. Go. There we go, almost. Hey, there we go. And there she goes. All right, that's it for me. So it's just after 5 o'clock. That took a little over an hour. I was not anticipating finding an unmarked queen and then marking her, getting her released. But that was a good thing because I think that was hive 17 and number 12 was looking 12's marked with a brick, so that indicates I marked them during the last inspection as being queenless, which it looks like they still are. So I moved 2 very nice frames that had a ton of eggs and a ton of very young larvae into number 12 from 17, since they're obviously queen right. So I'll just keep an eye on number 12 between now and the end of June, and they should start producing some queen cells. And then by maybe mid-July, they should have a queen who is starting to lay. So yeah, that does it for me. Next part of the video here in a second is going to be from either tomorrow or Sunday. And that's going to show y'all me mixing up some feed using the new mixer and then filling up the hives, which I have never been so excited to feed the colonies. And yes, it does cost a small fortune to feed this many hives, which is by no means any comparison to the larger operations. But for me here in my backyard, 20 hives, feeding them, yeah, it's gonna cost a few $100 between now and the fall. But I was saying this to some other fellow county beekeepers, with how early and how awesome the spring flow was. It started and ended about a month early. I'm really hoping that the fall goldenrod flow is phenomenal for 2 reasons. 1, I don't have to feed as much, and 2, I could, with this many colonies, right, I could actually get a decent goldenrod harvest, which that would be a first. We had some last year, but it just wasn't enough. The juice wasn't worth the squeeze. Handful of frames to spin them and go through the whole cleanup process, so I decided just not to do it. As usual, as I'm wrapping things up, let's just do a quick drive-by of the colonies, and you can see they're a little disturbed, but I'll be out here later today to treat them. And then I'll be out here, let's see, tomorrow's Friday, so either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. I got a few days. Busy schedule this weekend, but I got a few days to get out here and feed them. And again, I'm very excited to do so. All right, so that's it for me today. Stay tuned and enjoy the next part of the video. All right, everybody, welcome back. So here it is a few days later. It's actually Sunday, June 9th, about 10:15. Temperature's 82 degrees and the humidity is 64%. And I am finally out here to take my barrel mixer on its maiden voyage. Got delayed about a day due to some family stuff, but that's all good. So as y'all saw in the introduction or the first segment of this video, I wrote some ratios up there, and I will provide a link in the description where I got that from. I think the website's Iowa Bees, very handy. However, that jogged my memory of a video from Bob Binney, of course, where he was presenting some information to, I think, the club that he's a part of down in Georgia. And I shared this information in last year's feeding video, and I'm going to share it again, screenshots and then a link to his video, of course. But he somehow, I don't know how he got a hold of the information, stumbled across it or somebody sent it to him, but there was about a 25-page research project from some Indian, the country of India, beekeepers that has some very interesting scientific proof regarding feeding your bees thinner sugar syrup than 1-to-1, with the most beneficial being about 1.3 to 1. So with all that said, based off of the chart on the entrance, or not the entrance, but the chart on top of the barrel, so I need 50 gallons. But I'm gonna make 25-gallon batches just because this is the maiden voyage, right? So if you look up here to 20, I need 103 pounds of sugar and 12.3 gallons of water for 20 gallons. But if I wanted to make 25 gallons, I would need 80 pounds of sugar and 15 gallons of water to make 1-to-1, right? So with keeping that video in mind and rewatching it right before I came out here and doing some math, and I'll share that with you. If I want, also for simplicity, because I have 25-pound bags and I'm not going to weigh it out to get exactly 1.3 to 1, but as close as I can get is 1.25 to 1, and I'm okay with that. So that's going to be 100 pounds of sugar, so 4 25-pound bags, and 15 gallons of water. So like I said a few moments ago, I need 50 gallons, but I'm gonna make 25 gallons at a time because it's the first time using the barrel mixer and I'm curious to see how things go. But yeah, so I'll be feeding 1.25 to 1 and then just monitoring the hives over the next few weeks for a few things, consumption rate, and also to see just how well that mixture works. That's the plan. So, you know, everybody keeps their bees how they want to keep them. Some people die hard 1-to-1 no matter what, but I think Bob's got a lot of interesting points, especially I remember this because he's been beekeeping since the year I was born, which was in '82. So he's been keeping bees as long as I've been alive, and I feel like there's some proof in the pudding with what he does, how he does it, and his success, right? So that's what I'm doing. 100 pounds, 4 bags, 15 gallons. I'm gonna mix this thing up. I'll show you all that here in a second. And we'll feed half of the hives. And then if everything goes well, which I'm hoping it does, right? I'll mix another batch, feed the other half of the hives. And that should be it for a few weeks, I would imagine. Some hives are stronger than others, right? Some are relatively new swarms, small swarms too, but by feeding them, they should be able to grow pretty quickly, and then the hives that are strong, the colonies that are strong, should grow even faster, right? All TBD, right? We'll see what happens over the next few weeks, but with the 2.5 gallon feeders in each hive, I imagine I should be okay on feed for at least, well, at least get me to July, right? And I'm glad I put the veil on because the mosquitoes are crazy out here. They are just eating me up. So that's a whole different topic. All right, let me get some water out here. Let me get a power source, run over to the barrel mixer, and we'll get started. So enjoy. All right, it's that time. Got about 15 gallons of water. Got my power ran out here, 100 pounds of sugar. And just like I showed y'all earlier, as soon as I connect power, the pump will kick on. And then I'm just gonna mix one bag at a time, right? Maybe add a bag, give it 5 minutes, add another bag, rinse and repeat until I'm done. So that's about 20 minutes, right? 5 times 4, it's about 20 minutes of the pump running. And then of course, since this is the maiden voyage of the barrel mixer, I'm going to time how long it takes to get the consistency that I'm looking for. So yeah, add a bag, let it run for 5 minutes, add another bag, 5 minutes until I'm done, so that's 20 minutes. So I'll set a 10-minute timer after that, so the pump will be running for a total of 30 minutes at that point, and then I'll check it every 30 minutes. So best worst case scenario, 30 minutes I'm ready, which I kind of doubt, but 2 cycles, about an hour, based off another video I watched from a gentleman that made a video like this many years ago. I think he said he let his pump run for maybe 30 to 40 minutes and the water came out very nicely mixed, very clear. The sugar was completely dissolved into the water. So, and this is water straight out of the hose, so it's not heated, it's not warmed. I don't have any cool you know, temperature gun to tell you, but it's probably pretty cold. So that's my thoughts. Again, add a bag every 5 minutes, 10-minute timer, so the pump's running for 30. I'm gonna grab a mason jar from the house, basically just scoop some of the mix, hold it up into the sunlight, which is kind of hard back here in the wetlands, and then maybe within an hour. So to make 25 gallons of 1 to 1.25 sugar water in less than an hour, I am totally fine with that. Especially, I may have said this before or may not have, but especially since I'm not mixing or messing around with our shrimp boiling pot. I have a different pot for sugar water than the shrimp, right? But nonetheless, bringing a few gallons of water to temp around 140 degrees, pouring that into a 5-gallon bucket that has the sugar, getting a paint mixer with the drill and mixing that up. And the biggest thing with that, not that that part was enough of a pain in the butt, but the biggest part with doing all that is I would always have to wait hours, majority of the day if I did it first thing in the morning, for the sugar water to come down to temp, a safe temp, to where I could add it to the bees. But then nonetheless, getting the 5-gallon buckets to the bee yard, it just wasn't worth it, which is exactly why I'm here exploring other options. And thanks to YouTube, I may have said that earlier, and then thanks to a family member that mentioned a sump pump, and then going on YouTube and looking that up, that's kind of how I got to this point. So let me get a few bags at it. I'll show you all that, or brief moments of that, because I'm out here trying to do this with one hand, and we'll see how it goes, right? All right, here we go. All right, set a 5-minute timer and we'll check back here shortly. All right, time to add the last bag. I'll show you the consistency here in a second. right, let me set a 15-minute timer, and then once that goes off, the pump will have been running for 30 minutes total. All right, 15 minutes. Grab a mason jar, like I said, scoop a little, check it out, but let me show you the consistency here. Yeah, so we're pretty much right on the money. That's right around 25. I might add a little water. But yeah, that's what we're looking at. Give it 15 minutes, test it like I said, and we'll see how we're doing. And if I have to let it run for another 30 minutes, that's fine. No harm, no foul. Rather take my time and get it right. But we'll get the bees fed today, that's for sure. That's 30 minutes total run time for the pump from adding the first bag of sugar. All right, perhaps because it's still circulating, but honestly, that's pretty clear. I'm actually gonna let it run for another 30 minutes, just cause. But yeah, no kidding. This is actually working pretty nicely. So yeah, 30 more minutes and we should be up and running. So let's get that going. All right, we'll come back here in a second. Well, in 30 minutes and check. All right, so no kidding. 5 minutes left on the timer. I walk out here with the intentions of opening up the hives to make easy access to the feeders, so I can just grab the nozzle, boom, 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 10 in a row. And no kidding, as I am grabbing my gloves and my hive tool, the pump shuts off. Not running at all. So initially I think it blew a fuse at the house. So I go over there, no fuse is blown, no GCFIs or whatever that circuitry is, no issues, double checked, reset the breaker just in case. Tested the same outlet that the pump is plugged into with another device, works just fine. So the problem's definitely in the pump. Get the manual and really, I'm hoping one of two things. Blown fuse, which I hope it's not, because, you know, I got 25 gallons of sugar water in there and I don't really feel like messing with that. I'm thinking, because it has been running for 55 minutes, I'm thinking it hit its thermal overload. Basically it just got hot, and it has some built-in circuitry that detects that and shuts off. So the manual's troubleshooting step for that is simply disconnect power from the pump for 30 minutes, which I have a timer going. And here in about, nope, that's not the right timer. Here in about 19 minutes, I'm really hoping, fingers crossed, when I plug the power back in, it turns on. I'm really hoping. So I'm gonna wait to open up the hives until I know the pump's working. And then as soon as I plug it in, if it turns back on, fantastic. I'll disconnect it. The sugar water looks like it's mixed up pretty well. I'll disconnect the pump, come over to the hives, slide the top boxes over for most of them, open up the other hives with just the top cover, expose the 2.5 gallon feeder, which is all on the right for me, and then grab the hose and the nozzle right here and just 10 in a row, boom, 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 done. Probably within less than 10 minutes, I would imagine. And I'd be doing that right now if I didn't happen to walk out here and the pump, like I said, shut off like almost as I walk by it. So hey, you live and you learn. Again, this is the maiden voyage for the barrel mixer with the Vevor pump. It has great reviews online, but I kind of thought running it for as long as I was may kind of cause some problems, but you know, willing to explore. So if that's the case, I know no longer than 45 minutes is what I should stick to, since I was at 55 and that was kind of like the breaking point for it. So anyway, gonna give it about 18 minutes now probably, just kind of chill out by the house. And I'm really hoping it just got a little too hot and shut off, but I'll let you all know here in a second. All right, back in action. That was nerve-wracking. All right, so here we go. 55 minutes. pretty much hit the thermal shut off. That consistency looks pretty nice. So I'm gonna turn it off just so it doesn't overheat again. I don't think it would, but anyway, just to be err on the side of caution, right? All right, that actually looks pretty darn nice. Check that out. Awesome. This is working absolutely fantastic. All right, so for the second batch, thinking ahead, right? Let me cover this up just because there's bees in the area. Yeah, for the second batch, I'm gonna do the same thing with letting the pump run for 5 minutes between adding bags, and then I'm not gonna let it run for more than 45 minutes since that shut off at 55 minutes. So, like I was saying earlier, we moved some hives around in anticipation of moving the 2 swarms over, so it looks a little different. But yeah, I'm gonna just pop the tops, slide the top boxes over on some for these first 10, which the hive here with the branches on top, that's my marker for the 10th one. And as soon as I do that, I'll plug the pump in, rotate the valve, I'm thinking about 30 to 45 degrees, and then come on over and fill the 10 hives. And if you can't tell, in the meantime, when the pump was running for the 55 minutes or so, came out of here and did some late spring cleaning, some weed whacking, and the yard cleans up absolutely great. Let me get my gloves on, grab my hive tool, come out here, pop the tops on the 10 hives, plug the pump in like I said, rotate the valve, I'll show you all that, and then fill the hives for the first time. And I am equally as excited as I was just a few days ago when I was building this thing and I got it running. This is a game changer for me with feeding, and if you don't know about it, hopefully this video helps you out. If you have 5 or more, maybe 10 or more hives, I mean, this is the way to feed. I don't know what I was thinking for all these years. So game changer for sure, and I can't wait to see how strong the colonies look rolling into the fall and the winter this year. So all right, let me do those few things, and of course I'll show you. All right, last one. There we go. All right, all hives are ready. This should take less than 10 minutes to feed these 10. All right, more so out of curiosity than anything, I'm gonna start a timer just to see how long it takes to feed these 10 colonies. So that's with the ball joint, or the ball valve, I didn't show you all that. That's with the valve turned about maybe 30 degrees. So yeah, that's a pretty nice flow. And this makes me happy. This is just so easy. Minimal lifting, which is exactly what I wanted. After all these years of hauling 5-gallon buckets, man, this is the way to go. All right, I took my time with that one, right? And we're right at, it was about 50 seconds. This is as easy as it gets. last time to close up. So let me show you all this real quick. This is impressive. So I let the watch go for a little bit, but I'd say about 5.5 minutes to feed the 10 colonies 25 gallons of sugar. Again, game changer. So I'm pretty sure my measurements were right with the sugar and water and everything. Something seems a little off, and the reason I say that I'll show you here in a second. But there's about 10 gallons, a little less actually, maybe about 8 gallons of sugar water left in the mixer. So just something for me to look into. I have 18 colonies out here. I have 2 swarms, and as you can see, 1, 2, yeah, so something's off, and just need to figure out what that is. But hey, good for now. I'm gonna give the pump a break, about maybe 30 minutes, 30 to 60 minutes, get some lunch, whip up the second batch, and that's it. Man, I can feed 2.5 gallons per hive, 20 hives, as long as everything goes the same, right? Like once I feed the other half, like the actual feeding part, filling up the feeders in 10 to 12 minutes. That is crazy to me. Just given what I've been doing in the past, this is wild to think that I can feed bees this easily. I was definitely doing things harder, somewhat uncomplicated stuff made more complicated by yours truly. Perhaps that has something to do with the USMC lifestyle. It's a joke. But yeah, no kidding. I'm gonna grab some lunch, whip up another batch of feed, fill the rest of the hives, and then I need to figure out what to do with those 2 swarms, because I'll have a little sugar water left over, about 5 gallons worth. Maybe that's kind of part of the overage, but no harm, no foul. I have plenty of feeders to where I can do some open feeding, and I'm sure the bees will get it. It's just a matter of figuring out how much I have left over once I'm done feeding all of them, and then kind of just going from there, really. I'm telling y'all, like, if you've been feeding bees by mixing sugar water in 5-gallon buckets and feeding 1 hive at a time, a gallon or 2 at a time, check out this video and just build yourself a barrel feeder or a barrel mixer. It is worth the 250 bucks, believe me. All right, I decided to pop open the next 2 colonies. So this will be 11 and 12, not the actual numbers, but just in order. And the reason I decided to do that is I wanted to get the sugar water in the barrel as low as possible before I make the next batch. And then I was thinking, with anything that's left over, I'm just gonna open feed it, just so all the colonies get the same consistency of sugar water. And then with the 2 swarms that have to get moved into the yard, I'm gonna do that tonight, and I'll either feed them tonight after dark, or I'll feed them tomorrow, one way or the other. But this is why I was saying it. I don't remember if I showed you previously, but that looks like maybe about 8 gallons. About 8 gallons left, so at least enough to feed those 2 colonies, if not a third, and if there is, I'll just open up that third one. But yeah, so first time mixing bulk sugar water using the barrel, of course. A few things to possibly tweak, but no harm, no foul. All the hives will get fed with the same consistency. And again, anything that's left over, there shouldn't be too much left over, so I'll just use a 5-gallon bucket and open feed them out in the side yard. So let's get started with this, and then I'll whip up the next batch here in a second. All right, so I was actually able to feed 3 more colonies, with the last one being maybe an inch shy from topping it off, and the pump was starting to suck in air. I'll show you that here in a second. So it's as low as it can get. So I ended up feeding 13 colonies, 2.5 gallons, give or take. I don't feel like that makes a lot of sense. So now the dilemma is this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 colonies, need about 15. Yeah, so 7 colonies, that's 15 gallons. I'm gonna have to do some math here and figure this out, because I really don't want to make any more than I need to. So yeah, I'll get back to you that, but may not even show you that. I don't know if it's worthwhile, but what is worthwhile is getting yourself a barrel mixer, because it is super convenient and really cool to be able to feed any amount of colonies within minutes. So I'm gonna finish things up, close out the video here in a little bit, show you all that, but so far just blown away. Absolute game changer. All right, here we go. Last few hives to feed, and that's it for me today. It's taken a little longer than expected, but then again, I do keep in mind this is the first time I've done this. So with that said, a little bit of a learning curve. But yeah, I got the last, how many we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4. The last 5 prepped, and then again, I have the 2 swarms that I'll be moving over to, excuse me. I'll be moving over tonight, and I'll probably feed them either tonight or tomorrow, probably tomorrow. But yeah, anyway, I just need to turn the valve, open the spigot. I got the hose prepped right here, and that'll be it for today. I mean, granted, if you have a few hives, it's not a big deal. It's still quite the pain to get the sugar water out here. And this yard's really not that far from the house, but this is way better. So extremely satisfied. I decided to try something new, spend some money, but honestly, to make things a lot easier on yourself, it's worth it. All right, hey, that does it for me, folks. So it's just after 2:30. I think I started just after 10 o'clock. So let's just say quarter after, 11:15, 12:15, 1, 2, so 4 hours, right? That seems like an awful long time, but I did lose an hour total in having to disconnect the pump from the power source because it overheated. That was an unexpected curveball, right? So if you discount that hour, maybe 3 hours, which is probably way more time than I needed to take. But again, being the first time using the barrel mixer with the pump and not really knowing how long it took or would take to dissolve the water or the sugar in the water, I have a feeling next time will not be as long. So there you have it, folks. Just about mid-June. All 18 hives out here have been fed, and the 2 swarms will be moved over this evening, and they'll be fed either later tonight or tomorrow. Hey, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up, of course. If you enjoy our content, please subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything and shows us a lot of gratitude that you support us by subscribing to the channel. We make pennies for our time at this point with the amount of subscribers we have and watch hours and basically how all that stuff works with YouTube. And if you're watching this video still, again, thank you. They do get kind of long sometimes. But hey, if you're looking for any local and raw honey, you're in luck, because we have some. It is absolutely beautiful and it tastes even better than it looks. You can actually pick some up from Grants Creek, from Northwoods Urban Farm on Henderson, right by iFixit. And very soon, you might be able to pick some up from the Blend and possibly the Postal Annex. And of course, you can always buy some from us. Just go up in the banner on YouTube, hit our link tree, it'll take you over to that website, and then Buy Local Honey will take you to our Square website, and you can purchase some directly from us via appointment, anywhere from 2 hours from the time you want to come by all the way up to a week in advance. It's pretty simple. If you need help, just reach out to us. DM, text, email, comment on this video. There's many ways to get a hold of us, and I'll help you out with coordinating or making the appointment, or just whatever you need help with. Hey, it's time to go inside. It's hot. It's actually pretty pleasant today, but you know, doing this for a few hours, it's time to take a break. All right, hey, thanks for watching, everybody. Until next time, I'll see you then.